Hello and welcome to another timeless video. Today we're checking out the updated version of the mono green strip mine combo deck, since Wizards thought it would be a good idea to add a bunch more broken green cards to the format, including Crop Rotation, a 1 mana instant. As an additional cost to cast it, we have to sacrifice a land in order to search our library for any land card and put it onto the battlefield untapped. So this is another way for us to consistently find strip mine, a land that can tap for a colorless or can be sacrificed to destroy target land, even opposing basic lands. So this is just completely ridiculous. Then we've also got an Exploration, a 1 mana enchantment letting us play an additional land on each of our turns. Usually this effect is stapled onto 3 mana creatures, so getting this on a 1-drop is amazing. And because we now have all these 1-drops in the deck, I'm no longer playing with Chalice of the Void, since typically you want a Chalice of the Void for X=1, which would be a bit counterproductive here. And then instead of trying to just lock the opponent out of the game as our sole win condition, we're also going to try to just kill the opponent with a huge T-File lock card, getting to double its power whenever we trigger Landfall, especially in conjunction with a Scythecat Cub, which can give our creatures a +1/+1 counter with Landfall, even doubling the number of counters if it happened a second time. So between the Cub first resolving the +1 counters and then T-File doubling her power afterwards, we can present lethal with just 1 or 2 fetch lands. So that's also part of the plan. And then of course we also want to be able to loop our fetch lands and strip mines back out of the graveyard, and that's where we've got the I Still Explorer, which has been an amazing addition for this archetype as well. A 4 mana 2/4, which can both play additional lands on each of our turns, as well as replay lands out of the graveyard. So this can keep looping back our fetch lands until we run out of forests to get, as well as being able to get back strip mine over and over. And with Landfall we also mill a card, which can maybe mill additional useful lands into the graveyard to help find strip mine in the first place. And then Ramunap Excavator simply lets us replay lands out of the graveyard, so this is at its best in conjunction with something like an Exploration or another effect that lets us play an additional land each turn, and Azusa can also fill that role, letting us play up to 2 additional lands on each of our turns. Now the Excavator gets the nod over the Alchemy variant that just returns a land end of turn, because with the Excavator we can get more than 1 land back out of the graveyard, especially with those additional land drop effects. And then rounding out the deck, we need some fast mana to get these 3 and 4 mana cards in play, which are pretty expensive for the format, all things considered. So then a Chrome Mox imprinting a green spell helps us cast those ahead of schedule, as well as in our mana base we have the full set of Ancient Tomb tapping for double colorless at the cost of 2 life, so that can also speed things up. And then for added consistency, we've got the full set of Once Upon a Time, which we get to cast for free if it's the first spell we're casting. Maybe future copies we can still hard cast for 2 mana, or maybe imprint to a Chrome Mox, so that's also a good use. And then this can look for both creatures and lands, so it can also help find the additional disruption from strip mine, or find one of our win conditions, or maybe an Explorer if that's what we need. And then Malevolent Rumble can mill the top 4 cards of our library, revealing a permanent that we get to put into our hand, so that can also find our enchantment like Exploration, or maybe a Chrome Mox as an artifact, so it's also quite versatile. And by milling cards we also set up our Explorer nicely, and we also get a spawn token which will help us ramp, so that can also maybe set up a 4 mana play on the following turn. And then our mana base is pretty interesting because we have Crop Rotation, so it benefits us to have a bunch of one-offs that we can search up in certain situations. I did leave out some cards that could potentially make their way into the deck, cards like Bojuka Bog if we need some instant speed graveyard hate with Crop Rotation. Could also include a Cavern of Souls if we're worried about counter spells, but we also need to have enough basic forests in the deck to fetch up with our various fetch lands. I'm running Prismatic Vista and Windswept Heath, but you can run whichever green fetch lands you have. And then a Waterlogged Grove as a one-off can be sacrificed to draw a card, so especially in conjunction with a way to replay it out of the graveyard and play additional land drops, we can go through the deck pretty quickly. And then last but not least, Yavimaya has also been added to the format through the latest Anthology expansion, turning all lands into forests in addition to their other types. So this is pretty useful when we have a bunch of colorless lands like Strip Mine and Ancient Tomb. Being able to tap Ancient Tomb for a green mana without losing any life is great, and once we run out of basic forests to fetch, we can still turn our fetch lands into forest that can tap for a green, so that's also pretty useful, and sometimes a land will want to Crop Rotation for. So yeah, that's our deck. Now let's jump into some games and see how the deck does. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand. Have to decide what to do with Once Upon a Time, since I could also pitch it to Chromox. We found a fetch land. So now I can go for turn 1 Azusa, play a bunch of lands out, play Excavator, although we're still missing a win condition or a piece of disruption. So I think I actually cast Once Upon a Time here. And then find a Cub. So that's a win condition. So then could play the Cub if I pitch, let's say, the Excavator. But I don't have another way to replay lands from graveyard. So I could just play a land and pass. And then next turn play Cub, but then it might get countered. So I think I still Chromox. Pitch Excavator, hope to draw something else to replay lands out of the graveyard. And then just play the Cub. Next turn I can go Azusa plus a bunch of fetch lanes. But at least we've established our win condition. Blue-red could have answers. Opponent's gonna seek new knowledge, so it might be more of a combo deck after all. Strip Mine would still be a good draw. Alright, Explorer is exactly what I needed. So I can go Ancient Tomb, play Explorer. And then... yeah, it doesn't really matter if I fetch again in response. But sometimes it can matter with your sequencing, with Tifa especially. Make sure to resolve the Cub triggers before the doubling power from Tifa. Alright, so that resolves. Hit for 5. And then next turn we can keep going with Azusa. Opponent seeks new knowledge again. And there's crop rotation, so that can find Strip Mine and pretty much lock the opponent out of the game. So first let me try Azusa. That resolves. Crop rotation, can go for Ancient Tomb, doesn't matter. And get our friend Strip Mine. And we can replay this one a few times. Opponent maybe has a Stifle. They don't. And can do it once again, and our opponent scoops it up. Awesome, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play. Our hand is keepable with Ancient Tomb. We can set up a turn 3 Explorer. Yeah, I'll try. Do I Once Upon a Time now? It wouldn't really change much. So I can play Vista to play around an opposing Strip Mine, or I can just play Forest to keep the fetch land for landfall. Opponent's got a Thoughtseize. They can take what they want, and then I can maybe still Once Upon a Time to fill the gap. Takes the Explorer. We'll only be able to Once Upon a Time once. Finding, at this point, just a Forest. And then could run out Tifa. Or we can Rumble in the hopes of finding another Explorer. I'll go for Tifa, make them answer it. Opponent's got a March for 3, pitching another Thoughtseize. So likely a Necro deck, gonna draw a bunch of cards with their enchantment. Find a Scythecat Cub. Yeah, that seems worth running out. And then I can play the fetch land after, or I can Ancient Tomb. So I can both play the Cub and maybe Rumble afterwards. Finding Azusa or another Tifa. I guess it's Tifa here. Probably should have rumbled first, actually, because if we find Tifa, I would rather play her over the Cub, since this is where we want to put all our counters. Opponent's going to reanimate our own Explorer, and they have a Strip Mine, so that's going to be a problem. Gets rid of Ancient Tomb. So getting a taste of our own medicine here. They're also running Surgical to maybe stop opposing Strip Mines. But they will prioritize the Bowmasters for now. Sacking it denies the 1/1 token from being generated. Alright, so it's not looking great. We can play Tifa. Can maybe hold the fetch lanes. Still tempted to play the forest out. And then if they don't have removal for Tifa, we can still do some damage. So they're going for Swamp instead of Strip Mine, so they want to maybe cast their triple black spell. Or a Barrogoyf. That one's quite large. But yeah, Tifa could still potentially present lethal past all these blockers. But it's going to be difficult. Yeah, I kind of want to draw Exploration, so then I can Exploration. I guess I would also need an extra land, so yeah, it was going to be tough either way. So now, play Vista. Make sure to stack these triggers correctly, so first resolve the Cub. Then we can fetch. And get a land. And resolve Cub. Then double. Then double. So, yeah, if I maybe had a crop rotation left, we could actually win. Now I guess we attack, force them to trade away some stuff, and then I can still play another Tifa afterwards. Can I afford to attack with a Cub? Probably not, because then I can just block it with the Explorer. Barrogoyf trades for Tifa. So then now I'm pretty much hoping to draw fetch land. Opponent's got the One Ring to protect him. So wouldn't be able to present lethal for a turn. But they maybe missed the opportunity to Strip Mine me a bunch. Alright, find an Ancient Tomb. So I should Once Upon a Time while I can. Question is, do I play the Ancient Tomb first? Because I might find another 2-drop I can cast, like another Cub. Sure. Explorer I'm not going to be able to play, but I can grab the Prismatic Vista. And then we can set up another strong attack. And at least this one they cannot Thoughtseize. So if they don't find removal, we still have a chance. Another Barrogoyf. Anything else? Can Strip Mine me all you want. Okay, so if their last card's not a Fatal Push or another March, we might be okay. And crop rotation's actually quite good as well here. Alright, so let's make sure to stack our triggers properly. Resolve cub, fetch. Got one forest left. Resolve cub. Crop rotates. I'm going all in. And get another fetch land. Resolve cub. And this is already more than enough, but if they're holding on to a removal spell, I'll let them have it. Want to go for maximum damage. Alright, let all those Tifa triggers resolve. And sure, I guess we'll just send Tifa. Block with a Goyf. And yeah, 101 damage can go through. And there we have it. So, despite getting Strip Mine locked by our opponent, we still found a way. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw, facing a Lurrus deck. So likely energy. So crop rotation can get Strip Mine, we've got Explore. What we're missing is fast mana. Don't have Chrome Mox, don't have Ancient Tomb. So then this hand might be a little fair. Of course we can crop rotation for Ancient Tomb, then we don't have it for Strip Mine. But we also have a Once Upon a Time, which can maybe find one of the aforementioned cards. Find Tifa. So yeah, let's see what we can find. Just a Prismatic Vista, I want to say. And then could just play Forests. Can always crop rotation at instant speed. So, could actually get a Strip Mine if our opponent gets a land here to slow them down. Undercity Sewers. They are a Lurrus deck, so it's not going to be Show and Tell combo. It looks like they do have counter spells. Don't think it really benefits me to Strip Mine, because then I can't deploy my 2-drop in time either. So this Esper could still crop rotate for Ancient Tomb. Although it's not like that extra mana is going to matter too much. So, stick or draw step. Find a Strip Mine. So then I could be tempted to just Malevolent Rumble this turn. Take it slow. Don't think I'm in danger of dying yet. This seems like a slower matchup. They could of course mana drain me. But with the Rumble, we have the option of maybe playing the Explorer next turn. Find Exploration, that one seems good. So that'll open up a few more possibilities. Opponent's still being passive. Alright, so I don't want to just jam the Explorer. Could go for Exploration first, see if that resolves. Or I can, I guess, bait with Tifa. But yeah, we're not necessarily attacking this turn, so it doesn't matter if the landfall triggers go to waste. Exploration resolves. So then, I guess I can just play Tifa. The eventual goal is Explore, lock them out with Strip Mine. For the time being, we probably need to play around counter spells. So, yeah, let's maybe go play Strip Mine, play Tifa. That resolves. Could play a Scythecat Cub as well. Could leave up crop rotation to get another Strip Mine. They could be on Toxic Deluge to wipe the board, it's hard to tell. So I think we just pass. Hope they make a move that doesn't involve winning the game on the spot. And then we can do some powerful things. Our opponent did have the swords, so that's fine. Could gain more life by fetching a response, but we'll wait. Opponent's going to brainstorm. What I do not have is Cavern of Souls, which would be decent against counter spells. Crop rotation for Cavern, make an uncounterable Explorer, although it likely gets removed as soon as I replay a land. Opponent's got their own Strip Mine. I'm gonna Strip Mine my Strip Mine. Alright, that's fine. That's a game I don't mind playing. So our opponent will undoubtedly still have counterspell mana up, which I can now crop rotation for Strip Mine one of their lands, and then they won't have mana drain up. The only issue is I'm not guaranteed to cast the Explorer then, but I think it's worth a shot. Or I could get Ancient Tomb. But then we just get this countered. So I guess Ancient Tomb, play my 2 other creatures out is also a reasonable line. And then hope they fight over my 2-drops, and then Explorer can take over. Alright, let's start with another Tifa. Play Cub. Opponent will Pact of Negation. So how are they gonna pay for the Pact? Maybe a Stifle. Consign to memory. Alright. That's fine. Still a 2-for-1. Opponent's got another Strip Mine. Gets rid of my Ancient Tomb. The problem is they might still have interaction for my Explorer. But I could cast it here if I Chrome Mox, pitch Crop Rotation. Then I can play the Explorer, start getting back my own fetch lanes. Crop Rotation for a fetch land can pump Tifa a bunch, but it's only temporary. So I say we go for it. They might have another Consign to counter the Imprint trigger. That resolves. So we'll get back, I think, a fetch land, or maybe Strip Mine still better. And then if we suspect that they have a Consign, I guess I can wait until their upkeep. And then if they have to counter, they have to waste mana in their turn. Although I do have an additional land drop remaining, so I could Strip Mine twice, to be fair. Which is maybe still worth it. Although then if they remove the Explorer, I'll have missed my extra land drop. But they probably would have responded to the landfall trigger if that's the case. So yeah, let them consign the Strip Mine trigger. And then we can replay it, Strip Mine again. It's a Stifle this time. Okay. Hit the white mana for swords. And then I guess we still have the extra land from exploration, so yeah. Land drops aplenty. Probably could have gone for lethal actually by getting back a fetch land. But strip mining the opponent to death is more satisfying. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw with a keepable hand facing Lurrus. Got a turn 1 exploration. Does our opponent have a discard spell? They do. So probably takes the exploration is my guess. Can still crop rotation, gets Ancient Tomb to set up a turn 2 Azusa. Opponent actually takes a Rumble, drawing to Once Upon a Time. Which finds Strip Mine. Still doesn't let me replay it out of the graveyard, but yeah, that's probably a fine pickup. So then I can Exploration. Still Strip Mine. Next turn, play 2 lanes, play Azusa. And then hope to find an Explorer or an Excavator. Untime Blood Crypt for Thoughtseize. Takes a crop rotation. Alright, I can still go for Azusa here. And can even keep my fetch land uncracked thanks to Yavimaya. So all my lands are on the table. Teachings points towards a more aggressive style of deck. Opponent passes, we can rumble. And another strip mine, probably the pick here. Hit the Blood Crypt. And then maybe end of turn we'll draw with a Grove. One's gonna bolt Azusa. That's okay. Yeah, I don't want to draw now and have my opponent use another discard spell. They've got black-red lands aplenty. And now an Arcanist, which will gain haste, so they can get back maybe a Lightning Bolt for my spawn token. Or get back a discard spell, but we're empty-handed. They don't have to Lightning Bolt, so yeah, they're just gonna cycle the teachings. Makes sense. Yeah, Arcanist, not a card you see very often in the format, but seems pretty nice in this style of deck. And great pairing with the Swiftspear's teachings. So I'm hoping to find Ice Still Explorer. Strip Mine. And a land, so I guess we'll Strip Mine once again. Could keep the Windswept Heath in hand to let my opponent use a discard spell. More Blood Crypts, alright. So that's the 4th black-red land in a row. And a Channeler can close out the game pretty quickly as well. A Bauble to enable Delirium. So now even if we strip mine the opponent to death, we can lose to what's in play. So we also need to find a win condition. And ideally one that survives a Lightning Bolt. Opponent's gonna just bolt face, perhaps. Alright, at least they won't have that bolt to maybe take out Tifa. Possible, of course, they have another removal spell in hand. They did achieve Delirium again, so we take 8. Take my turn. And that's another land, so yeah, not quite going our way. So only discard spells in the graveyard. Amped Raptor. Gonna hit a free spell. And it's gonna be an Orcish Bowmasters, still enough to shoot down the spawn. So we're taking probably more than 4 damage. These also have prowess from the Swiftspear's teachings. So getting back a discard spell is still 2 extra damage. And yeah, we're just too far behind on board now to make anything happen. Can't even sacrifice a fetch land. Found my excavator at long last. So we can go out strip mining the opponent, doing what we love. Probably should have replayed another strip mine before sacrificing it, so they couldn't respond with a removal spell on excavator. Alright, I'm satisfied. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a hand that's relying pretty heavily on Once Upon a Time to find a fetch land. Because then I can loop the fetch land with Excavator and Azusa. I'll try it. Find a Prismatic Vista. Ancient Tomb would also work, although fetch land's better long term. I'll just play the fetch line and pass. Could consider playing Chromox. Can be bad if they have removal for it. Playing it can be better if they would maybe counter it, so there's drawbacks and advantages. So now we can Chromox, pitch one Explorer. Play Azusa. And then next turn, can go off with my second Explorer, perhaps. Our opponent maybe on an aggro deck. Alright, Crop Rotation can find Strip Mine, but let's start with Explorer. Play Vista. And then Crop Rotates for a Strip Mine. Now we still need to draw into a win condition. So then the next land we want to maybe Crop Rotate for is the Waterlogged Grove to draw cards. But our opponent's going to scoop it up to the Strip Mine lock, fair enough. On to the next one. Okay, we're on the draw. This hand's pretty busted. Just gotta figure out optimal sequencing, but it's got a lot of potential for maybe even a turn 2 kill. Although we are on the draw. So, Thoughtseize on 1 is gonna sadly take Tifa here, most likely. Unless they've got removal for her. So now our hand's not quite as exciting anymore. So goodbye Tifa. Find Cub, not a bad replacement. So yeah, I could always Crop Rotation for Strip Mine, because Agharim's Awakening points towards a landless combo deck with either Balustrade Spy or Charbelcher. So then we could just die next turn. But I also want to make sure I get to Cub down. So let's see if I Exploration, play 2 lands. Yeah, then I don't have a green spell to pitch to the Chromox to still rotate for a Strip Mine. So, tough call. Maybe I just Chromox, pitch rotation, and then I can play Cub, and next turn go crazy with Exploration. If I Exploration first, I can still play the Cub, but then we miss out on a bunch of Landfall triggers. Could have also pitched Exploration, capped a rotation, to then get a Strip Mine to slow the opponent down. So a lot of factors to consider. Opponent's going to Inquisition away Exploration, sadly. So then playing it first would have worked out better. Let's see what we can find. Strip Mine or Explorer. At this point I probably grab Explorer, since I can cast it next turn. If our opponent had a Dark Ritual, they already could have cast their 4-drop. So the only drawback again is if our opponent has another discard spell in hand that they're sandbagging. So big turn coming up. Our opponent could combo kill. They could remove the Cub or maybe the Explorer from our hand. If none of those things happen, we could have some fun. And yeah, opponent is dead on board if they can't answer here. On to the next one. Alright, we're on the draw. Our hand is not particularly disruptive, but we can present a fast clock with Cub into Azusa, even a turn 2 Azusa with Ancient Tomb, and then once upon a time wants to find maybe Strip Mine, maybe an Ice Still Explorer, or an Excavator would be fine. Blossoming Sands, I think, let's see, this could be kind of a Cascade Tybalt's Trickery combo deck with the Colossus. That can put a bunch of lands in play. Found Strip Mine and Excavator. Chromox also quite relevant since we can pitch Once Upon a Time. So then... yeah, it's another close call. I think it's Strip Mine, since we need the disruption. But turn 1... I can go... Ancient Tomb Azusa. And then... play Cub. Wait to Strip Mine until next turn. I guess I can just play the Strip Mine. A Radiant Fountain gain 2. And disenchant my Chromox, that's fine. Okay, so we'll hit your dual land. Play some lands out. And then ideally draw an Icital Explorer. Oh, there we go. And get back Strip Mine. And our opponent scoops it up, they're locked out of the game, and the Cub's also going to present a ton of damage. Sweet, on to the next one. Okay, we're on the play with a decent hand. Turn 1 Tifa, turn 2 Cub into a fetch land. And then I'll go for Ancient Tomb, so I can maybe play an Explorer next turn already. The difference is only 1 damage between Grove and Ancient Tomb anyway. If they want to Strip Mine my Ancient Tomb, I don't really care. And Bloodstained Mire could represent removal for Tifa or a discard spell for the Cub. If we draw an Icital Explorer with a fetch land, we can already go crazy on turn 2. But now Blood Crypt into a looting, alright, so there's a graveyard combo deck of sorts. Discarding Grave Titan and Neonate. Any free Evoke Elementals, maybe their own Chromox to reanimate the Grave Titan. Grief, alright, goodbye Scythecat Cub, I guess. So now we would love to draw another Icital Explorer. There's a few other cards that would be decent. Can start with a Rumble. Find Explorer. Although I'm not going to be able to play it this turn. If I grab Azusa, I can play her thanks to the spawn, but it's not quite as exciting. So I'll try this approach. And hit you for 4. Okay, so they need another discard spell. If they reanimate Grave Titan, we're pretty happy. If they reanimate Grief, we lose the Explorer, but at least we'll still have Tifa. They pitched the Thoughtseize in order to play the Grief, so very much possible that they have more discard spells in hand. Alright, reanimate Grave Titan, that's fine. Tifa might be able to go over the top. Especially if we find Exploration or another Azusa. Untap Blood Crypts, Neonate, that's fine. Just sacrifice to discard and draw, basically. Okay, so start with Explorer, and then I can play my fetch land twice, so that's 4 landfall triggers. So 2, 4, 8, 16 trample. Opponent's got 11 toughness. So that should be Xaxes here. Probably the Neonate holding priority. Can't think of much else they would have here. There's no real risk of running out of forests in the deck, otherwise I could respond to the mill with fetching with Prismatic Vista. Just to make sure we have a forest left to get. So there should be Exaxes. Five damage tramples over. And there we go, awesome. Tifa gets it done. And we get to rank up here as well. So yeah, that was quite successful. Going 7-1, and got to strip mine lock some opponents, got to combo kill some people with Tifa and Scythecat Cub. So yeah, this mono green menace is definitely here to stay in the Timeless format, and it's a deck that keeps evolving as we keep getting more pushed cards added to the format, so we'll see where this deck ends up, but for now it's definitely one of the top contenders in the meta. So yeah, that's going to do it for today's gameplay. Want to thank you for watching, hope you enjoyed, and as always, have a nice day.